Your life can easily be destroyed by 5 people you already know, not the cartoon villains or your obvious enemies. I'm talking about the smiling landmine sitting at your group lunch, the just trying to help coworker who never actually helped, or the friend who texts you up, but somehow never asks, "How are you?" You don't need a detective board with a red string to find them. You just need to stop giving them discounts on your boundaries. Let's map out the danger zone without turning you into a paranoid hermit. Because no, the answer isn't to cut everyone off and move to a cabin. Cabins have terrible Wi-Fi. The first is a Chaos Distributor. You'll know them because your cortisol spikes when their name pops up on your phone. They don't just have problems, they're a traveling circus that sets up camp in your living room. Their car broke down, their ex is crazy, their job sucks, the barista gave them almond milk instead of oat, and now they're literally dying. You try to be a good friend, so you jump in with fixes. But Chaos Distributors don't want solutions, they just want an audience. Their drama always feels urgent, so your brain prioritizes it. Texts at 1 a.m. labeled emergency, voice notes longer than podcasts, "Can I call? It'll be quick," and then somehow you're on the phone for an hour listening to a story that has 7 subplots and a musical interlude. The more you rescue them, the more they lean on you because you've trained them that your time is a free buffet. One night, I made the mistake of answering a quick call before bed. 2 hours later, I had learned that her ex-roommate's boyfriend's barber said mercury wasn't Gatorade and that's why her cat was upset. I woke up the next day like I'd been hit by a bus named other people's problems. The fix isn't cruelty, it's just a cap on chaos. When they drop a grenade, reply with calm limits, like, "I can't talk tonight, but if you want my advice, just let me know what's up." Force them to compress. Drama hates compression. And give yourself a quota for emotional labor per week. When it's spent, it's spent. After that, you'll just have to ignore them for a while. That might sound selfish, but it's not. It's just maintenance for your mind. The second is a subtle saboteur. They're allergic to your confidence, but they're too polite to say it out loud, so they come at you with backhanded compliments. "You're so brave for wearing that." "I could never start a business. I'm just not impulsive." "You got promoted?" "Wow, they must really be desperate." Technically, their goal isn't to stop your progress, it's just to make success feel contaminated. You'll notice your energy shrink around them. You'll start pre-explaining your decisions, you soften your wins because you don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Congratulations, you're now doing their work for them. I once told a friend I hit a fitness milestone and she responded with, "Be careful though, people who get too into the gym become gym people." Gym people? Ma'am, I just did 3 pull-ups, I'm not competing in the Mr. Olympia. Here's why you can't let that pass. Our self-image updates in real time based on social feedback. The more small cuts you tolerate, the more your identity bleeds. The move is clean and boring, mirror and boundary. You just have to tell them, "When I share something I'm proud of and you undercut it, it makes me not want to tell you anything." You're not asking for permission for your success, you're just telling them what the terms are. If they were only joking, then good. Now at least they know that the joke has a cover charge. The third is the vacuum. This is the friend who always needs a ride, the sibling who always wants to borrow your thing forever, and the colleague who has a quick question that turns into, "Can you just do it for me?" Vacuums don't think they're using you, they think that you're just generous. They built an entire life on community college group projects where a straight A student does everything and they just sign their name at the end. Guess which member of the group you are. I used to be a chronic helper. I wore it like a merit badge while my calendar looked like a giant game of Tetris played by a toddler. You don't need to become a cold robot, you just need a policy. "I can help for 15 minutes, or sure, you can borrow it, but I need it back by Friday. If not, you'll have to Venmo me this money so I can buy a new one." Watch how quickly vacuums either adopt or fade. People raised on free refills don't love paying for the cup, and that's your sign. Fourth is the Puppetmaster. Controlling people rarely introduce themselves as controlling. They view themselves as the responsible one in a household of chaos. The methods are subtle. They isolate you from other opinions, they rewrite your memories, they make you doubt your competence so you hand them the steering wheel. One day you realize you're asking for permission to live your own life. The group chat becomes a courtroom where you're always on stand. The scary part is how normal this can feel inside the relationship. They sugarcoat control as care. They peek at your phone under the banner of trust. They veto your plans for your own good. They make your wins theirs and your failures yours. In other words, they gaslight you. Meanwhile, your self-trust erodes like a sandcastle at high tide. And the fifth and final one is the black hole of negativity. Look, I love a good vent. I love a spicy complaint. But there's a difference between processing and marinating. Black holes marinate. They don't try to solve anything because solutions would end their favorite hobby, forecasting doom. You show them a plan, they show you 1,000 ways it fails. You bring them good news, they bring an umbrella to your sunny day. Every conversation feels like you're carrying a backpack of wet cement. Research on emotional contagion is brutal here. Moods spread. Spend enough time with negative people and your brain adopts their thought patterns. Even worse, negativity usually disguises itself as intelligence. If someone can point out flaws, we assume they're smart. But demolition isn't architecture. The most poisonous sentence in your progress is, yeah, but. One copy with a black hole turned me into a weatherman for apocalypses I hadn't even scheduled. I pitched a small idea, they countered with job market stats, failed examples from 2012, and the spiritual ramifications of disappointment. Thank you, Professor. I'll just sit here and do nothing then so I can win the gold medal in safety. You don't need to fight them, you just need to shift the channel. When they doomcast, ask for specifics and actions. Okay, how can I make it less risky? If they can answer, the conversation ends. When they mock optimism, ask for their plan. If the only plan is don't try, your plan is don't ask them. Protect your optimism like it pays rent, because it does. Optimism is not believing everything will work out, it's believing you can handle it when it doesn't. Now, before you start mentally assigning your friends to these categories like it's Hogwarts, let's talk about the part you probably didn't think about. Sometimes you are one of the 5. I was a Chaos Distributor in my 20s, constantly going through it expecting group therapy on demand. I also wore the Subtle Saboteur hat when I felt behind in life and pretended I was just being realistic about somebody else's dream. The quickest defense against destructive people is to stop being one yourself. Audit yourself. Where do you drain? Where do you undercut? Where do you control because you're scared? Let's put a little science behind you for extra smart people. Intermittent reinforcement, the slot machine effect, makes attachments stronger. That's why the Chaos Distributor's occasional sweet moment helps keep you hooked. Sunk cost fallacy convinces you that because you've invested years, you should invest more. The Dunning-Kruger effect gives vacuums the confidence to ask you to do what they never attempted. And trauma bonds masquerade as intense love with puppetmasters. None of this means you're weak, it just means your brain is doing exactly what it was supposed to do. Seek patterns, conserve energy, keep you attached to a tribe. You just need to update the tribe. Here's a simple, uncomfortable rule I learned a little too late in life. If you feel smaller after you see somebody, adjust the distance. Adjust doesn't always mean delete. For some people, it's once a month, not every week. For others, it's group settings only, and for a special few, it is no contact. Your job is not to become their rehab facility or their emotional bank. Your job is to maintain the ecosystem where your best self can breathe. When they react, because they will, do not mistake discomfort for danger. Healthy boundaries feel rude if you were raised on people-pleasing. You aren't becoming mean, you're becoming clear. There's a difference. Clarity is kind because it tells the other person exactly how to win with you. Now let's slow down for a second and picture a different Sunday night. Same table. The pasta still tastes good, but this time, when you say that you're trying a dance class, you add, I'm excited. You don't have to co-sign it. The room gets quiet in that way that tells you that you've just reorganized the gravity. They look surprised because the old you would have backed down. The new you smiles, changes the subject, and goes anyway. That's the real prize here. Not being right or winning an argument, getting your life back from tiny thieves. Because that's what most destructive people are. They're not monsters, they're just mismanaged. Some will rise to the new standard, some will leave. Either outcome is good for you. If you're watching this and feel like I just called you out, good. That means you still believe you can change, which is the best superstition to have. Start with the easiest boundary on the easiest person. Avoid these 5 types like your peace depends on it because it does. And if you're brave enough, do the audit on yourself so you don't become the person someone else has to avoid. There's a version of your life where your calendar isn't a crime scene, your friendships don't feel like negotiations, your evenings don't end with emotional hangovers, and your goals don't need bodyguards. That version is not a fantasy. It's the normal you get when you stop apologizing for treating your energy like it's valuable. So here's what you need to do. Pick one person, one line, one boundary. Send a text and have the conversation. Risk the awkward silence. 10 times out of 10, future you won't miss the chaos. You'll be too busy enjoying the quiet. And that quiet isn't loneliness. That's the sound of peace of mind moving back in and putting its feet on the coffee table like it pays rent. Because from now on, it does.